Good morning, everybody. Today I'm going to be showing you how to assemble cabinets. You can see I've got my pallet of cabinets here. These are Jarlin cabinets. This will be my first instructional video on YouTube. I'll be doing all types of stuff, showing you how to do tile showers, waterproof showers, how to make mud pans, how to cope crown, cope base, install trim work. I do a lot of everything. So today we're going to be doing some ready to assemble cabinets. And there's several different types of ready to assemble cabinets. But in this situation, this is a bracket system. So they also have dowel systems. They have kind of like a half a dovetail system that they slide together. They have cam locks. They have all different types of stuff. But we're going to be doing these today, and I'll be showing you guys the process. All right, so first off, let's go over the tools that we're going to need. Some of this might seem pretty self-explanatory, but let's just start from the basics. Box cutter, obviously. We've got to open our boxes and carefully not cut our cabinets. Second, you're going to need a mallet of some sort to knock together your dovetails. You're going to need a drill. This is all Phillips head. I've actually bought some new extensions. These are the DeWalt ones that lock the tip in. I don't want to use one of these extensions where it just easily slides out. That is super annoying when you're assembling cabinets and your bit keeps falling out. So they cost a little bit more money, but this bit alone's 10 bucks. This kit was 20, but it's way more convenient to have the magnetic to hold the screw for one, because they're little itty bitty screws, and if you have big hands like me, they can be hard to grab, and it locks that bit in, and there's no getting it out without pulling this piece down, which I'll show you guys. So that's my recommendation on that. You're going to need some wood glue. I usually use the green tight bond, but I went with Gorilla Glue today because there was 2 more ounces to the bottle and it was $2 cheaper, so it should be fine. And then I use 1.25" brad nails and a brad gun, and that's just to knock the backs of the cabinets together with the smallest nail possible. Really a pin nailer would be too small. And then I've got some countersinking bits. Now really you could just use any drill bit, but there is times when you're putting your brackets on your face frames or your cabinets where you will get a little split or a little crack. So I'll probably use a drill bit to do a pilot hole for my brackets on my cabinets on the face frames to make sure we don't get any splitting. So now what we're going to do, let me grab my box cutter. The first thing that we're going to do is let's pick one of each style of cabinet. So on this build, I've only got 2 styles of cabinets, and that's uppers and lowers, which is typical. And what I mean by other styles is you got Lazy Susans, inside corner cabinets, dead space cabinets, there's all types. In this application, in this install today, I've only got uppers and lowers. It's a pretty simple install. So I'm going to choose a base 18, a B18, because this cabinet will have not only a door, but a drawer that has to be put together. So we'll put together a base, and I'll show you guys how to put together a B18. So let's get that over here next to the table. And that's another thing that I forgot to tell you guys. Very important to have a table to work on when you're assembling these cabinets. And I bought a table that didn't fold in half, because I found when I was assembling and putting these heavy cabinets on it, over time they bend and warp and everything. This solid table has done so much better for me. So I switched from a fold out table to that just single slab table, and I've been happy with that. Now let's find ourselves an upper. That's a wall 3618, we don't want that. There's a wall 2736, that's a good sized cabinet. So our wall cabinet will be a wall 2736. Let's go ahead and sneak this out. And this will be the other one that I show you guys. So we'll do one wall and we'll do a base together. Now, every cabinet's different. Jarlin is packaged pretty good. I always cut from where the seam on the box is in the back. Don't try and take it out any funky which way. I'm going to use the box to protect the cabinet on the table also. So the first thing we're going to do obviously is open this box up. And what I mean is to be careful is some of these cabinets aren't as strategically packed. And you'll run into situations where you might dig that knife too deep and you're going to cut your cabinet. And God knows you do not want to cut your cabinet and cause damage before you even get it out the box. So I always cut cautiously, even though I know I have room on this. And I'll lift that up and I'll kind of hold my blade on an angle and just ensure that I'm not going too deep. You can see I didn't even cut the foam. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to unpackage this cabinet. So part of this is going to be knowing the pieces of your cabinet. This is a B18. I know it comes with one shelf. You can see it's got a finish on every side. That's the shelf. So I am going to just essentially unbox everything and put it together as it's going to be going in. You see this thin piece? That's the bottom of the drawer. There's this dovetails. You can see the sides of the drawer. And this is the kick plate. So we're just going to organize this stuff where we can grab it as we're going. The first piece that we want to get to is the face frame, which just so happens to be at the bottom. This is the bottom part. You can see where it's notched for the face frame. That's going to slip into that dado. And then you can see the toe kick right here. So I know this is my sides. So I'm going to pop both the sides out. See, they're stacked together. I'm going to put everything in grabbing distance in the order. And Jarlin, like I said, they're packaged good where you're going to pull it out in the exact order it's going to go back together. So I'm just going to strategically place that. This right here is my drawer tracks. And then this is my hardware for the cabinet. And this is what I meant by a bracket system. I'm going to open this up. And I've got these tiny little angle brackets. And there's only so many in here. And I've got different screws, which I'll explain what all the screws are for. And I got some wood screws and I've got some bracket screws. And then these are just your 90-degree angle brackets for the top of the cabinet after it's built to hold it all square and true. So I'll just keep all that together in here. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to unbox the face frame. Let's see what else. Oh, we got the back. So sometimes they do put the backs in front of the face frames to protect them in case something hits the box. It's not going to damage the back of the cabinet. Or it's the back of the cabinet, you'd rather get a little bit of a ding than the front of a finished cabinet. It's better. Let me put it that way. So that'll be the last piece that goes in. I'm going to set it aside. I'm just going to get rid of the rest of the foam and stuff. Make sure we're not getting rid of anything. So this is different than what they've done in the past. Let me see. It feels like I have something in here. So it looks like they have put my hinges separate in this situation where the door isn't attached already. And sometimes they'll do that. Honestly, I haven't seen Jarlin do that, but I've seen other cabinet companies do that. So I have to put the hinges in too. I'm gonna have to get a trash can out here, but let's just set this aside. Okay, let's unpackage this. So I can see from here, that's the drawer because it's smaller and this is the door. Now, in this case, I'm gonna go ahead and probably just leave it all together like this. I'm gonna get my knife and I'm gonna see where it's folded. I'm just going to strategically unwrap this thing where the foam is still on it. Now see here, there's a dado. I don't know if you can see that, but if I want, I could very carefully, if I'm not pushing hard, cut. And it's inside of that recessed field right there. Let's go ahead and hit this flap open too. And over here we got one also. And get that open. Okay, now we should be able just to unfold this, kind of like we're unwrapping a present. All right, easy peasy. And get the stuff out of the way for where we're going to glue, because that's one of the only spots we're going to glue in this application. Now let's get some of our brackets out. So if I have two people doing this, what I'll do is I'll have somebody hold the side of the cabinet in and I'll put the bracket on. And the reason I do that is because I will push it tight to the edge of the dado because these have a little bit of play in them. But since I'm working alone, I'm going to do my best to line this up even with the edge of the dado so I could slip my side in. I'll attach it to the face frame first so that I have something to lean the cabinet up against when I put it in. Now, the first thing we should probably talk about is bracket placement, because these cabinets don't tell you where to do it. You have a certain amount of brackets, so if you go too far, you're going to run out of brackets, and we don't want to run out of brackets. So what I like to do is I like to find my hinge points. And I can see on this cabinet, I've got a hinge here and a hinge here, even though it's not attached. I can see the mortise. So I'm going to go as low as possible to give me as close to the bottom, some support on that door. And then I'm going to go right above the other hinge. Now, the reason I'm not going all the way to the top is because I've got this final bracket at the end that's going to give me that extra brace there. So that's essentially how it is. And then on the bottom, it only gets one in the center. So there'd be one bracket in the dead center here. So let's go ahead and attach all these brackets and then start getting this cabinet put together. Now guys, in all transparency, I do not always do this. But I'm going to pre-drill because I know from time to time, doesn't sound like that drill's doing too good, does it? Anyway, I know from time to time when you put these little screws in, you will split the face frame a little bit. So I'm going to get that about right where I want it. And this will help you too. If you guide yourself just a little, and look, I'm not going deep. Just a little pilot hole where I want my bracket. It's going to take an extra couple seconds to do. It's going to ensure that I get my bracket exactly where I want it. And it's going to prevent my face frame from splitting. So we just do the same thing over here. I'm holding it flush. And you really want to try and drill center of that hole, because if you don't drill the center of the hole, the screw is going to make the bracket walk when you put it in. So we're going to hit as close to the center on all these brackets as possible. Trying our best here. So there we go. Now, before I screw my brackets on, the first thing I want to do is I want to put glue in the dados, because once the brackets are on, and I've done it before, you try and get the glue bottle through and the cap is hitting the bracket and you're making a mess. Get that cleaned off a little bit. Oh Lord. I don't know my own strength, my wife says. All right, let's get a nice bead of glue. We're not looking for too much, just a nice flat line, straight through. Even pressure. Do not make a huge bead or it is going to be going everywhere. We're glued. Now, let's get our brackets on. And dump my screws out. Be conscientious of where you dump your screws. You don't want to scratch your face of your cabinets. So just note where you put them. If you're gonna lose them, maybe dump them in the box to keep track of them. But I've done this a lot and I'm gonna go ahead and wing it. This is the extension I was talking about. You see it says pull down. And you can't really see, but there's a little ball in there that locks the bit in place. So no matter how hard you pull, you are not getting that out without pulling that down and popping it out. This is a lifesaver putting these cabinets together. It really is. So let's go ahead and get this put in. Now the screws. Those screws are for the top brackets. They need a larger screw. The wood screws go through the back into the base, and they have these countersunk holes in the back of your cabinet. So we're going to set those two aside. We don't need them. So we got our brackets. Put a few screws in the hand. And you guys, some people don't even need to hold an impact for this. Get a drill, set your clutch to 5 or 7 if you don't have throttle control. If you don't have throttle control, you're going to spin these little screws right off. Or you'll strip them and they're not doing anything if you strip them. So you got to have throttle control when you're putting these screws in. They're just little screws. They'll strip out really easily. And we don't want to strip them out because then they're not doing anything. Looks like I didn't pre-drill the bottom. So let's roll the dice. I'll show you guys why I pre-drilled. It doesn't always do it, but from time to time. So if I wanted it right here, I don't pre-drill. That one didn't split, and they don't always. And that's why I was telling you, in all transparency, depending on the job, I don't always pre-drill. And you can see just a little itty bitty on the inside. It doesn't go all the way through. But that's what I was trying to avoid, and to show you guys how to avoid that entirely. And that's why I pre-drilled all these, because if I'm going to give instructions, I'm going to try and instruct you guys to do it the best way possible. And as you get better at it, you could use your discretion on your installs of what's the best thing for you. Now, guys, when you're getting ready to assembles, they are just that. They're not custom cabinets, okay? They won't always be the exact measurement of the face frame when you set it in there. So what you need to do is, for the lowers, it won't matter if the bottom is a little shy or a little bit past, if you see what I'm saying. What you really want to focus on is that the top is perfectly flush. So your hand touch is the best way to know if you're flush. I'm perfectly flush at the top, and you can see I'm sticking out just a hair underneath. That's fine. That's what I was getting at. They're not always the same. As long as it's flush at the top, your countertops are going to sit level after you shim them. See that? That's held in place. And that's why I like to put my brackets on first, because I just sat it in there and I tacked it. And one little trick that I use when I'm screwing them in is, if you look at where I'm screwing it, I'm cheating the screw to the top of the hole. And my thought is that that will pull the cabinet in tighter to the face frame in doing so. Because if you're not fully seated in this dado, when you put your cabinets on the wall and you go to screw your face frames together, there might be a little fluctuation, and then you're going to have lippage on the front of your cabinet, and you're going to be muscling them to get them where you want them. Let's get this other side in. Same deal. We're going to flush it up at the top. So I'm going to slide it up till I feel that it's perfectly flush. And look here, this is what I was talking about. I'm not all the way in, so make sure I'm in. And a good way to check that is just to look down here and see that that is sitting flush against the face frame. All right. Get this one put together. I'm doing the same thing, cheating my screw to the top of the hole, ensuring that it pulls it tight. And now you're over halfway there with assembling your cabinet. Next piece is the bottom. Now these are all different. Sometimes they're painted, finished. This one looks like it's evenly just like got that lacquer kind of finish on either side. So I'm just going to look at it and see which one looks prettier. And I think this one looks prettier. So I'm going to put that up in the cabinet because that's what you're ultimately going to see. And we're just going to slide that in. And then we want to make sure that it sits in the face frame. I don't break out a hammer unless I need to. I try and just push it where I want it. Just like that, it went right together. And you'll see what I'm saying as you assemble these, that you want to cheat that screw to the top of the hole and have it pull it tight. It really makes a difference as you assemble cabinets. It really does. All right, now we're to the back. Now, a bracket goes on either side here to hold your sides in. But if you put these brackets on before you put your back in, you won't be able to get it in because you have to split them apart to get the back to slide in. So, first thing I do, again, we're going to glue the dado. Only one in the back. I'm going to line the dado up with the base, and then I try and hold it in the side. Has a little dado too right here that it slips into. So let's get it to sit, and then you can hear it snap in. Same here, and just work your way down. And they don't always go together great. Sometimes they take a little muscling. Like this one wants to fight a little bit, so try and get some leverage on it. Let's see what we got. Looks like, okay, so I can see there's a gap here. So what needs to happen is this needs to go in, and then this just needs to be, maybe to give it a little love tap to guide it where it wants to go. There we go. So a little love tap with the hammer. We're tight. Now this is where I put a little brad nail in it. And I only use 1.25 inches. Nothing crazy. We're going to make sure that this is flush and in all the way. I'm going to put one nail in it. Right there. I always try and aim up towards the back, so if you get a blowout, it blows out the back. But they honestly don't even call for these in a lot of the installation guides. But through installing a ton of these cabinets, I found that this is the way to go. So I'm just going to tack a few on either side just to hold it. Oh, ran out of nails. Okay. Put a couple more in there. Okay. Now, a couple more brackets to put in. So this is going to hold our sides together. Oh, dropped a screw. Now here is really where you want to pre-drill, because I've had it where I've put my screw through the back and they don't go perfectly into the bottom, and then you'll end up with like raised little humps in your cabinet when you put your wood screw in. So I try and look at the side, keep that thing as, you know, plumb as possible going in. Sure it goes in straight. And we're just gonna give ourselves a little pilot hole so that those screws go exactly where we want them to go. So, I don't know why they do this, but they also have put my shelf pins in the same thing. And I will just put that in the box with the little cabinet bumpers, and I'll put it in the cabinet at the very end. And I usually put all that together at the very end when I do my kitchen install. Okay, 1, 2, and you can sink these a little harder, but still throttle control. You don't have to get crazy. 3. Keep in mind, the door wasn't attached and the drawer wasn't attached. So when you're lifting it up, let's just make sure everything's off. It is. Okay. Now your box is pretty much assembled, but don't forget your angle brackets. So let's go ahead and pop these 90-degree angle brackets in. And I usually hold them about a fingernail distance, 1/4 inch from the top. And these I do not ever pre-drill, ever. Okay guys, the hinges are pretty self-explanatory, but I will show them to you anyway. They just sit inside of this mortise, like so, and then you put your screws in them. It is that simple. Now I will go ahead and put these on just to do it, but in all honesty, I am going to leave my door off of my cabinet because I take them off to attach them to one another during install anyway. So I do not mind one bit that they have left these doors off, because I take them off anyway when I do my install. What that is, a little mark. Clean that up. These are the finish. This is a Perla finish. So I'm just going to very carefully set my door in here on an angle, like so. Make sure it doesn't get damaged. All right, we're on to the last part, the drawer face. Very easy. Okay guys, in these ready to assemble cabinets, I will not lie to you, the dados are not always perfect. These look pretty clean. Doesn't look like they ran them too ragged, but sometimes they don't knock together good, sometimes they don't line up perfect, and you got to cross those bridges when you get to them, because you are getting ready to assembles, and it is not a perfect science by any means. They are production cabinets. I think Jarlin's one of the better finish ready to assembles that I've ever worked with, and that's why I recommend them to homeowners. So believe it or not, the head of these glue bottles is designed to fit right in your dado. So let's go ahead, and we're just giving it a kiss, guys. We are not, you go putting too much in there and you're going to find out real quick that it's all going to push out anyway. And we don't want to make a mess having to clean up all that. So it's just a little kiss that's going to be pushed in and lock all this together. And there's only 2 sets of dados that are the female end that you're going to glue. You're not going to glue the male end. And really, I glued the bottom dado down there, and I really don't have to because it's right in the drawer. So you can see the dado for the drawer. Now, on these tracks are designed to sit into one of these holes that are in this. So good rule of thumb, if you have a burn or a mark, like a brand name in your drawer, it's meant to sit towards the front so you can see it. So I always look for that. I'm going to set that towards the front. And again, guys, if you have to beat this really hard, it's not lined up right or something's not right. It shouldn't take a lot. You know what I mean? So just a light little love tap. And there's a little split in that one actually. And that'll happen from time to time. But let's see. We're trying to keep them lined up. Just a very light love tap. Clean it up a little bit. Now, no glue in this. This is supposed to float. Okay, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna look at my finish and see, they're not always finished on both sides. This one is. They feel about the same, but for some reason, this one looks a little yellower to me and that one looks a little bit dimmer. Makes me feel like this one got more coats. I'm gonna put that upwards. I'm going to slide it right in. Make sure it's all the way in. Okay. Leave these spread. See how it's spread and it's not in yet? I'm going to leave that spread just a little bit. Set that into the dado. Now, line up the dados. Or the dovetails, I'm sorry. What am I saying, dados? Line up the dovetails. I'm going to turn this on the side. Again, guys, little taps. Clean up the glue. Go to the other side. Make sure it didn't knock out. Light little taps. That's it, guys. Your drawer is assembled. So the last couple things we have with this cabinet is the toe kick. And we have got the drawer tracks. So let's go ahead and get this out of the box. Drawer tracks out. Oh, got some nice. I mean, this is entirely different than Jarlin's been. I've been installing these for years. It looks like an upgrade, honestly. I have been asking for these lock-in tracks forever that snap and lock in. Oh, this is so nice. Okay, guys, so my Meta glasses have died. So I'm going to attempt to share the rest of this install with you, or the build, through my phone. So like I was saying, I've got some upgraded drawer clips. These are what hold the drawer, the drawer glides to the drawer itself. They snap in. So we're going to have to install that on the back of the drawer. We'll do that in a minute. But I'm going to show you how to put your tracks in your cabinet. It's pretty self-explanatory. You've got 2 holes in the back of the cabinet, as you can see here. Now on a B18, I got plenty of room to move, so I put them in after. But if I was working with, let's say, a DB, like a drawer base 12, or even a drawer base 15 or 18 for that matter, I usually put these in while the back is off, because it can get really hard to reach, and it might still prove to be a little difficult to get a screw in the side of that. Let's see what we can do. You can see I slid that over because that's your drawer adjustment. I'm going to slide it back over. Put a screw in the other side. That's what's going to hold. And I'm going to be honest, how much are those needed? I don't know, because when the screws, when the drawer track is screwed to the face frame, I don't see how those are coming out. But they give you the screws, so I try and do it the right way, you know. Put that in. Those are in. It's pretty simple, right? Now, for the drawer tracks. Hold this on the side. Now, it'll be hard to see, but if you look right here, there's a little pilot hole already in there. So what we're going to do is, we're going to get our drawer track, make sure you have the right side. And the way you'll know that is the L with the holes is going to go against the face frame. And then there's a notch in the back of the drawer glide that's going to slide into the clip we just put in the back. So be careful not to beat up the face now, but we're going to set it in there. Make sure it slides in. And then usually that's the same thing. It's about a fingernail. We're going to get the center of that hole on the side. And then it's just one screw. Drawer track's in. Let's get the other one in. Same thing. We're going to be very careful not to mark anything up. Slide it in. And put our one screw. Now these are assembly lined. And you might not have your little pilot hole. If you don't have your pilot hole, see it's about a 1/4 inch back. So eye that out, about a 1/4 inch back. So they give you angle brackets to put this in, and they want you to put the angle brackets on the back and put the toe kick on. There's 2 reasons why I don't do this. For whatever reason, I don't know why they've designed them this way, and I'm going to flip the camera back around. Now when you get to the bottom of these cabinets, when you put this on, you're going to end up with a raw wood edge on your outside cabinet. Now where they meet in the middle, it doesn't matter. But where they meet on the end, it does matter, because what I like to do is I have 2 things. I either get an outside corner mold, or I'll cut it down and lay it flush like this to give you a nice finished look. But even still, you're going to have toe kick over top of this, 1/4 inch toe kick. So you're still going to get a raw wood edge. And people don't like to look at that. You'll get complaints. Painting it doesn't look good. So I like to put a little piece of scribe molding and return it to the front. and give it a really nice trimmed out finished look. So that's one reason why I leave my toe kick off for install. And the second reason I do it is when you're leveling your cabinets, a lot of times you're going to have to shim. Let me pop this out. A lot of times you're going to have to shim underneath the cabinet, and it is so much easier to reach under your base cabinet and throw a shim in on either side anyway. And then what I'll do is I'll get a trim head screw, or I'll just simply get an 18 gauge brad with a little strip of glue on it, and I'll put that in on the end and get it exactly where I want it and tack it, because it's going to get toe kick over it anyway. That's just my advice on the install part of it. These are our drawer glide clips that are going to attach to the drawer. And you can see if you push this button, that little thick piece goes in. That's what locks your track into the drawer. The drawer track is going to come through this notch in the back, and the rail is going to set up against the side of the drawer right here. So you know that this sits like this, and you can see it overlaps the lip, and you've got two screws that you put into here, and that's all that's going to hold this. You do not want to put a screw in there. You will bust right through that bottom. It's only a 1/4 inch thick. So you got to kind of know this stuff, or you learn the hard way, unfortunately, a lot of times. And I'm not going to learn the hard way today, because I already have. So I'm going to do the same thing, just a little pilot hole on either side. Over here, just make sure you're holding it tight to the front and the side. We're not going deep, it's just a pilot hole, maybe a 1/4 inch. The screws are small anyway. It only came with 4 screws, so I guess they're anticipating you're not going to put a screw in the middle. But that hole can be deceiving. You know, you think put a screw in every hole you see. It is not always the case. You got to know your product and what you're working with. Blow that dust out of there. Again, guys, throttle control. We're not trying to send them to the moon. Get this one in. Okay. Now I'm going to show you this, but I'm not going to show you when we get it in. But these are your adjustments right here. So this will adjust right here. You see that's got like the little piece that's coming out. I don't know exactly, to be honest. These have 3 adjustments. They're a little different than what I'm used to. Let's see. So that's a left and right adjustment. This is clearly an up and down. Okay, you see that shim coming up? So that is an up and down adjustment. So you can get your drawer to sit if it's a little bit off. This will left and right your track. That's awesome. And then this one, the way that this is coming out, the way I pressed on it, I'll see if it was part of the soft close, but the soft close is in the drawer glide itself. So I'm guessing that this adjustment is to make sure that your drawer face rests even on the face frame. That is a really nice adjustment system on a drawer track. Very big upgrade for Jarlin. Now, let's snap them in. A lot of times, you can just very carefully get in there and slide them in. But I think the safer way to go about it is let's just pull our tracks out. Very carefully set it on here. Put your hand in the back. Hear that? So it's snapped into it. See, this one wasn't lining up. All right, it's lined up. Ready? Okay. Now underneath, if you ever need to work on these, so let's see, there's a little handle here. You see this? And that, let me see, I'm gonna set this on the ground. So this little handle, if you need to take it off, you're just gonna push it in, and you can just lift it up, or you can slide it back. You see how I slid it back? Now look, same thing, we're gonna slide it right back in place. It's locked in, not coming out. And then what I do at the very end, I've got my leftover hardware. Now they gave me these 2 extra angle brackets for the toe kick. I don't use them. So what I do is, I've got a big box that I've saved because they come in handy for all types of stuff, guys. So I open up my little box right here, and you can see I've installed a ton of these, and I've saved my brackets, my screws. I've saved dowels when I get them. These are hinge stops. I mean, all this stuff that you can get. Fill sticks. I mean, you name it. This is my cabinet assembly toolbox that I try and keep all my stuff for this in particular kind of work. But anyway, that's a base. Showed you guys how to do that. Pretty painless. Let's get an upper done. Okay guys, I've moved my table over to avoid the sun because I am in South Carolina and it is hot. So usually I will go and I'll do all my base cabinets first. They're harder and I like to get the trouble out of the way first, and then it usually makes for an easy rest of the day. But for the video purpose, I'm going to show you guys how to do an upper now. We have a wall, 2736. So I had to switch from my Meta glasses. This one's going to be done with the Samsung S25, but hopefully I can still capture the process pretty good for you guys. Pretty much the same thing, guys. We're going to unbox the same way, obviously. Carefully opening it up so that we don't cut our cabinet at all. Same thing, they package it from bottom up usually. Maybe just have that back piece in the front to protect the cabinet. So let's go ahead and open this up. And just like the lower, the first thing we have is the two shelves. And like I said, I know that because they're 3/4 inch thick and they're banded with a finish. So we'll get these. We'll set them with the other ones out of the way. Next is our sides. I'm gonna cut a little piece of this box off because I am working on concrete. I don't want to chip any of the finishes. So let's get the sides out. That'll be the first part that we need for the assembly. We have a top and a bottom for our uppers. And these are painted, and then they have the finish. So obviously painted will be out, but accidents happen when you're rushing and doing hundreds of these. So just make sure you always put the painted side out, and make sure you got that notch into the face frame. But we're also going to set these aside. Now, there's my hardware. Okay. And again, they did the same thing here. When you lift this up, sometimes the doors will open. So try and get a grip with your fingers underneath it. And carefully lift it straight up. And I stand it just like that. Set this to the side just a little bit. I'm going to pull this base out. The back, better yet. For extra protection, I'll put the foam out of the way though. Put that back in, because I like how that was holding the face frame square. Alright, let's glue it first. Now same thing. Gonna line that up with the edge. Get a couple pre-drills. 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I've only got, I was gonna see if I could put 2 down here. They don't have it figured for that. So it again, it's just gonna be 1 in the center. And I kind of eye the center of the 2 doors on this one. Pre-drilled. Now, get the wood out of there. Let's glue it. A little junk right there from, that's where they hung it and painted it. On first, because I can. 3, 4, 5, and 6. And when you're doing this, there's an extra dado on your side pieces that the back slips into. So you know the edge without it is the one that goes into the face frame. Now on these, again, it is all too often that they're not going to be the perfect size of the cabinet. Now in my situation here, it's actually, man, it's pretty close. But let's go ahead, I'm going to flush it up and I'm going to put a screw in it. I'm going to explain something to you guys really quick. A piece of advice from me on this. Now on my cabinets, I like to do some pretty elaborate trim from time to time. Oop. And what I'm getting at is if your sides aren't the same exact size as the cabinet, you're going to have to make a decision. And that decision is going to be, am I going to have a lip on the top or am I going to have a lip on the bottom? What I normally will do is I'll put the lip towards the top. Now, you might could do it differently, but you know, this is my reasons for doing this. For one, you're going to see the bottom more than you're going to see the top. And if you're putting light rail molding on it, if you have anything sticking over the bottom, you're going to have a gap when you put your light rail molding on your cabinet. So my thought process is, I'm going to cheat it to the top, because what I'm going to do is, and I normally put a 3-piece crown or at least a crown on my cabinets. Now some crown will overlap the face frame just a hair. These are full overlay cabinets. It's not going to be the situation in this. My 3-piece crown actually sits on top of the cabinet. So it has to be perfectly flush at the top too. So I'm sure you guys are like, well, what do you do about it if it's not flush? I'll get a wood chisel and I'll very carefully tap it back, maybe 2 inches, to give me enough room to sit my trim flat on top of the cabinet, where it'll still be flush. But because I did that little bit of a chisel, it's going to knock out where that cabinet stuck out past and would have held it off. So I didn't really say that too well, but I'm going to go ahead and say it one more time. So pretty much what I'm doing is, if it's too big, I'm going to leave the lip at the top, and then I'll go with a wood chisel and I'll clean it up. And then once it's cleaned up, it'll allow that trim to sit flush on the top of the cabinet, and you can overcut it because you're never going to see the top of the cabinet at the end anyway. Whereas if you were to overdo the bottom and do the same kind of thought process, if you chiseled past the point of the light rail molding or whatever molding you put on it, you're going to see that ugly hacked up cabinet. So this is my experience and things that I've done with installing kitchens. It's very important, and you have to think about things like this because you'll run into issues when you get to your final trim out. And the final trim out is the finished work of the cabinet, and you want it as tight as possible. So I'm gonna go ahead and screw this together now, but I wanted to share that with you guys. Painted edge towards the outside of the cabinet, notched edge into the face frame. Don't force it. If you gotta force it, it's bound up somewhere. Nice and easy. We'll tack that in. Now, since I'm up against the wall and I can't walk around the table to get the other side, I'm just going to slide it into place. And I'll just have to remember to go back and screw that after I put the back on. So same thing, except this time, since we're on this side, we want the finished edge in, because it's got like the natural wood grain look. It's in. Now the back has 2 dados for the top, because it's got the top and the bottom. Make sure we get a good thing of glue in that. Sheet that over just a hair to get it to slide in. Don't want to muscle anything. Okay, in. Now let me show you what I'm looking at here. Now if you look right here, you see nothing but a gap. But if you look right here, I can see that the bottom of the cabinet has already set into the dado. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work this edge in, just like that. Now I know that this is right, and I also know, well, it actually kind of naturally did it. It doesn't always do that, but now it's naturally fallen into that dado, but sometimes it doesn't. But I always try and work the side that's fallen into the dado first, just to make it easier. And I'll do the same thing. This is really up to you guys with the brad nails. If you're not comfortable shooting a brad nail in the cabinet, by all means, don't do it. I am. That's how I like to do mine. I think they hold together better. And what I do on the tops is, if it is a finished edge that shows at the end, I put a piece of scribe molding on it, and you don't see the nails. Same thing. Now we got 4 brackets left in the box, and that's exactly what we need. 2 on the bottom, 2 at the top. Sides are attached, but we got our 4 screw holes here, like we did on the bottom. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pre-drill first. All we got right here, just wood screws. Okay, I'm gonna hold the door shut. Stand it up. Let's get our wood out of it. Oh, not wood, cardboard. Came out good. Thin. Soft closed. Very nice cabinets, guys. Very nice. I hope this instructional video helped you guys out some. Give me some feedback in the comments. Let me know if I'm talking too much. If you like the Ray-Ban meta footage versus the camera footage, if you like a little bit of both, like a first-hand and an outside, is it making you dizzy? Just give me some feedback, guys. Try and make these videos as entertaining and as informative as possible. Be sure to like and subscribe to content. I got a lot more stuff to come, and I'll be sharing, you know, the 20 plus years of knowledge in the field of remodeling and the vast variety of trades that I do with you guys. So thanks for watching.